Tonight, dramatic rescues underway as Florida confronts the devastating aftermath of Hurricane Milton.
Okay, let me spin around.
Pulled from the waters, communities shattered again.
It's really hard watching everybody go through it.
The immense cleanup and why the danger isn't over yet. One of Canada's biggest banks hit with a historic $3 billion punishment.
By making its services convenient for criminals, it became one.
And a CBC News investigation uncovers shady business at Ontario drive test centers.
These people took bribes, gave licenses for a murder weapon.
Marketplace is on the case.
What's your government going to do about it?
From CBC News, this is The National with Chief Correspondent Adrian Arsenault.
Thanks for joining us. For the second time in 2 weeks, Floridians are literally picking up the pieces after being ransacked by another hurricane, Milton. At least 6 people are dead, most of them killed after the storm spawned tornadoes. The scenes of devastation are dramatic. Homes toppled or ripped apart. In St. Petersburg, this construction crane collapsed, slicing right into a building. Water and trees and downed power lines are everywhere. And with millions still in the dark, this will be another long night for many. So we have reporters tonight on both coasts. The hurricane cut from west to east, right across the state. We will begin with Katie Simpson, who is in Palmetto, just north of Sarasota, close to where Milton made landfall. So Katie, obviously the focus now is on rescue and cleanup.
Yeah, Adrian, in neighborhoods just like this one, trees are down, debris is littered everywhere, and the power is out. The cleanup effort is well underway, but the main focus right now is on those search and rescue efforts. The race to save a 14-year-old boy in shoulder-deep floodwaters as he clings to debris to keep afloat. Rescue missions are the priority. Few more difficult than this operation at an assisted living facility. Many seniors were asleep as floodwaters crept into their rooms. Storm surge made for dangerous conditions up and down the Gulf Coast, leaving behind a wide swath of destruction.
How are you feeling?
Exhausted, but ready to rebuild and get the house back to normal.
The roof of Tropicana Stadium peeled and tossed away. The cots inside were supposed to be for first responders, a reminder of how dangerous this work can be.
The storm was significant, but thankfully this was not the worst case scenario.
Even with winds topping 200 kilometers per hour and storm surge of 3 meters, Milton was not as strong as expected. Still, the aftermath is brutal. Adding to the misery here, some of the hardest hit communities were still trying to recover from Hurricane Helene less than 2 weeks ago.
So this is where the water line went. You can see the sea.
North of Sarasota, in the city of Palmetto, Sheila Haskell says she's relieved Milton was not as bad as Hurricane Helene.
What on earth is it like to have 2 massive hurricanes back to back?
Emotionally draining.
The second blow from Milton unleashed a new level of destruction.
Is there anything that's salvageable?
Not really. I mean, pretty much nothing. We saved some of our personal stuff, but...
Logan Dowd gathered his family, including his pet ducks named Hall & Oates, to get out before Milton made landfall, leaving behind a blunt message.
Just as PG-13 as I could put it, to tell him what I felt.
But beneath the tough exterior here, nerves are frayed.
I guess the only thing I could say is that
It's okay. No, it's okay. It is emotional.
Yeah.
Tell me what you're feeling.
Sad. I mean, these guys here have been through a lot.
James Sheffield and his wife Stephanie describe feeling guilty. Their home is okay, while their neighbors have suffered so much.
It's just really hard watching everybody go through it. They're all super good people and don't deserve it. Not that it could be helped, but, you know, I just don't know.
Adrian, one comfort in all of this is the sense of community. We saw neighbors working together to clear debris. They're sharing food, they're sharing supplies. There's a real sense that they're going to try to move through this cleanup effort as a team, no matter how difficult it gets.
Well, and it sounds like it's going to get pretty difficult. I mean, just looking at you in the dark there, I think the lack of power must be a huge problem.
Yeah, it's not in this area. It's not expected to have the power restored anytime soon. Thousands of workers were actually pre-positioned in Florida ahead of Milton's arrival, just as a way to be prepared so that once it was safe, they could get out on the road and start restoring power. But when there are these kinds of major weather events, that's always one of the biggest challenges.
Absolutely. Katie Simpson, thank you. There's also immense damage tonight from the multiple tornadoes that were whipped up by Milton.
These tornadoes came out of nowhere. I can't think of a time where we had one confirmed tornado, much less that many of them in that short of a period, in that high contact. It's just, northern St. Lucie County is just devastated.
That sheriff speaking in front of the St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office, part of it ripped down onto the parked police vehicles below. There's damage throughout the region, homes blown apart, a trailer bed jabbed into this roof like a knife. The force of these tornadoes matching or exceeding the hurricane itself. And so we take you now east to St. Lucie County in the area where those tornadoes wreaked so much havoc. And that is where Aaron Collins is tonight. Aaron, can you give us a sense of what's happening there in St. Lucie County and particularly what's happening right behind you?
Yeah, right behind me, Adrian, you can see that's a semi-trailer on its side. Obviously, not a lot of light left here. The sun has set in this part of Florida, in this part of the world, but that's a semi, just to give you a sense of how powerful the winds that whipped through this part of the state of Florida were. Now, these aren't hurricane winds, right? These are some of the many, many tornadoes that were both spotted and made touchdown here in this part of Florida. So more than 120 recordings or warnings of hurricanes in this area. That's a state record. We're hearing more than a dozen actually touch down. And these have been very deadly encounters. Just down this road, there's a small retirement community for people over 55. We're hearing that at least 5 people in that community have died, maybe more. And you can just see as you come down this road, this truck, one example of it, but other overturned semis, power lines down. There's very little cellular connectivity here. You can see the activity that's going on to clean this place up and to get these people here reconnected. But this is an area that reminds me a lot of the sort of tornado alley stuff that we know very well on the prairies of Canada.
All right, Aaron Collins in St. Lucie County tonight. Thanks, Aaron. Now, the immediate danger of the hurricane and all those tornadoes is now past, but the situation for residents is far from safe. Sarah Levitt explains the dangers that lurk.
In Clearwater, Florida, residents get help from first responders, one of the many rescue missions overnight in southern Florida.
Seeing this is kind of crazy because, like, living here 18 years, I never expected this to happen.
These people were saved, the property and cars, though, underwater. Milton has passed, but the danger hasn't. Some places will see water levels continue to rise for days, just one of the risks.
We've actually had more people lose their lives after some of our hurricanes.
Craig Fugate was the FEMA administrator under Barack Obama. He says downed power lines, flooding, and cleanup efforts can be unsafe.
If you're not somewhere where you're in danger, stay where you're at, stay home. Let them get the roads open. Let them complete the search and rescue.
This year so far has been the worst.
Newfoundlander Tony Anderson works for Nova Scotia-based East Coast Powerline. The linesman was just in Georgia helping restore power after Hurricane Helene. Now he's in Orlando.
Poles broke off everywhere, transformers on the ground, wire down, and like the trees just kind of took a lot of things down.
Financial analysts say the extent of the damage could be in the tens of billions of dollars. The cleanup effort, months long.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. It's a lot.
And experts say future storms are expected to get even stronger.
Climate change is certainly tipping the scales on these monster storms. These are record-breaking temperatures across the Gulf of Mexico, and the heat that is trapped in the vast surface layers of the ocean is the fuel.
Not exactly calming predictions for those on the ground as they process the damage and pick up the pieces. Sarah Levitt, CBC News, Montreal.
U.S. authorities have slapped TD Bank with a historic $3 billion fine after the bank pleaded guilty to multiple charges, including conspiracy to commit money laundering.
TD Bank created an environment that allowed financial crime to flourish. By making its services convenient for criminals, it became one.
Now the U.S. investigation has ended in the largest ever penalty of its kind. Nisha Patel is tracking the story for us. So Nisha, authorities said TD essentially just allowed a criminal organization to flourish.
Yeah, Adrian, and TD actually has a really big presence in the United States, and officials there have been investigating how fentanyl traffickers actually bribed TD bank tellers to launder $670 million in drug money through its bank accounts. TD has admitted it's guilty and will pay a record fine of more than $3 billion. U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland said even high-level TD executives knew that there were serious problems and did nothing to fix them.
TD Bank chose profits over compliance in order to keep its costs down. That decision is now costing the bank billions of dollars.
Garland also said criminal investigations into individual TD employees are ongoing and no one is off limits.
And it appears that the bank is taking some accountability for this.
Yeah, the bank said that it will work to beef up its anti-money laundering program, and CEO Bharat Masrani is taking responsibility.
We're ensuring that this never happens again. This is a sad day in our history, and for which, you know, we are very regretful and apologetic to all of our stakeholders.
While the fine will be a short-term hit to the bank's profitability, the biggest impact could be from the non-monetary penalties. The U.S. regulator put in place a cap on the bank's assets, as well as restrictions on opening new branches or launching new products. That will all severely limit TD's ability to grow its business in the U.S. TD shares fell 5% on today's news, and this could be, Adrian, a huge drag on the company's stock price and on its reputation for quite some time.
All right, Nisha Patel, thank you.
You're welcome.
Local officials in Lebanon say 2 Israeli airstrikes in Beirut tonight have killed at least 22 people and injured more than 100 others. One strike destroyed a building. Workers searched the rubble for survivors and bodies. Another strike hit the lower part of an apartment building. Both were in central Beirut. Well, Israel's operation in Lebanon is expanding even as it continues to bomb Gaza. As Briar Stewart shows us, while Israel insists that it is targeting terrorists, victims tonight include more children, and a warning, many of the images are horrifying.
This building was supposed to be a refuge for families who fled other parts of Gaza, but this school turned shelter became a target. We were sitting when all of a sudden we saw the whole world flying, says this woman. Israel says its precise airstrike targeted a building which contained a command and control center for Hamas. But local officials say children were housed here. Every day we say it will be done with tomorrow or the day after, but it just gets worse and worse, says this woman. Not far away on the floor of the Al-Aqsa Martyrs Hospital, the frantic effort to treat those now lying bloodied and traumatized. A videographer working for CBC News captured these moments after the strike. According to Gaza health officials, at least 28 people were killed. One of the youngest victims carried in this tiny bag. The management room at the school was hit, says this man, adding there was no warning. While the misery continues in Gaza, the conflict has spread further. In Lebanon, Israel is continuing its offensive in the south, along a staging ground for Hezbollah rockets. The UN mission guarding the border between the two countries expressed alarm, saying Israel has repeatedly fired on its positions in recent days, including tank fire that hit a watchtower, injuring 2 peacekeepers who fell.
Highly concerning, not only because peacekeepers are there, but because this was done by, most probably a deliberate attack.
Italy, France, and the U.S. have expressed concern about Israel's actions. Israel has been trying to get the peacekeepers to shift further north as it continues to push into Lebanon. Briar Stewart, CBC News, London.
An update now on a story we brought you this week. Treble Charger frontman Greig Nori is denying accusations that he groomed and sexually abused Sum 41 frontman Derek Whibley. In a new book, Whibley alleges he was coerced into a sexual relationship with Nori, who is his former manager, and then psychologically and verbally abused when he tried to end it. In a statement today, Nori says the relationship was consensual and, quote, "The accusation that I pressured Whibley to continue the relationship is false. Ultimately, the relationship simply faded out consensually." Turning now to a small town in northeastern BC gripped by a recent wave of violent crime. In the last 3 years, 11 people have gone missing or been murdered in Dawson Creek. Now an investigation by Mark Kelly of the Fifth Estate is pushing to promise that arrests will be made soon.
From a distance, it appears idyllic. Dawson Creek in northeastern BC, mile 0 of the Alaska Highway. But look closely. Paramedics responding to a drug overdose. Since 2016, overdose calls in Dawson Creek have gone from less than 50 to more than 230 a year.
These aren't people that are using recreational drugs and going to work on Monday. These are people that maybe started that way, who have now lost their families, lost their jobs, and are struggling to survive. We've never seen that.
It was a Fifth Estate viewer who urged us to come to Dawson Creek to investigate the violent crime that has left 11 people murdered or missing in the past 3 years.
The town is scared.
Julie Hosak's son Cole disappeared from Dawson Creek on New Year's Eve after getting into a dispute over a pool table. 9 months on, still missing, feared dead.
And there were 7 murders that year in a town of 12,000 people. That's not normal.
2 Cree women, cousins Darylyn Supernant and Renee Supernant Didier, also went missing a few months apart in 2023, both later found dead. The Fifth Estate investigation bringing to light new details.
The last rumor I'd heard about her where she was in someone's house and wasn't supposed to be there when these people showed up, saw something, and they shot her in the face for that.
She witnessed a murder.
She told you that she witnessed a murder?
Double murder, yes. She witnessed both of them. That's why she's gone.
Where are the police?
They don't care. That's the way I look at it. They've been given so many tips about these people missing. You don't see them doing anything.
You want your town back?
We want our kids back.
We took the frustrations of families in Dawson Creek to the RCMP in the Mounties' first interview to discuss the unsolved cases. They pleaded for patience.
Why do these people have frustration that they're trying to help the police and the police aren't listening to them? That's the impression that they have.
That's very unfortunate. I think for the people of Dawson Creek, I think they would like to see arrests made, understandably so. But for me and my teams, the goal is an arrest. It really is arrest, laying charges, and then convictions. In my opinion, for some of the cases, I think, within the next 6 months, we will have some level of success.
Now, this story of Dawson Creek also highlights the decline of local media in small Canadian communities, leading to a lack of accountability from elected officials. The full investigation from Mark Kelly airs Friday on CBC Television and CBC Gem and YouTube, kicking off the Fifth Estate's 50th season. More details are emerging about a woman accused of killing 3 people in a shocking murder spree.
These 3 victims were just attacked, unprovoked, didn't see anything coming.
The new details about the suspect and her violent history. A whistleblower is coming forward with evidence of fraud when it comes to driver's tests.
These people took bribes, gave licenses for a murder weapon.
We asked the Ontario government what they plan to do. And a cat hiding out from the devastating hurricane gets a helping hand. We're back in 2. And there is Princess Catherine alongside Prince William, making her first official public appearance since completing chemotherapy in early September. The royals met with first responders who were on the job this summer when a stabbing attack at a dance class killed 3 young girls. The Princess of Wales is slowly resuming royal duties, mostly out of public view. CBC News is learning new details about a string of Ontario murders. A woman is now charged with killing 3 people in 3 days. Thomas Daigle brings us what more we know tonight.
Traveling on foot and on public transit from one attack to another, police say Sabrina Kaldar carried out a deadly 3-day rampage. Now a CBC News investigation is revealing more about an alleged killer whose case has shocked 3 Ontario cities.
These 3 victims were just attacked unprovoked, didn't see anything coming.
It all began in this Toronto basement apartment last week, where Kaldar is accused of killing a 60-year-old woman she knew, then allegedly going on to murder 47-year-old Lance Cunningham in Niagara Falls and 77-year-old Mario Bilic in Hamilton. Both strangers, police say, killed at random.
We are at this point comfortable to release that all 3 victims were stabbed.
Was it all the same weapon?
I can't say.
The daughter of 2 dentists, Kaldar's behavior grew violent as an adult. We obtained court records showing in 2018 she was convicted of break-and-enter, assault with a weapon, and assaulting an officer. Few acquaintances would agree to speak about Kaldar's past. This former neighbor was just stunned.
She's been charged with 3 counts of murder.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah, that's crazy, actually. That's insane to hear.
Police say the alleged killer was staying at this motel here in Burlington between the attacks. They say officers were already here when she returned 5 hours after the 3rd victim was found. The 30-year-old accused appeared in a Toronto courtroom by video link, rocking back and forth as her lawyer questioned whether she's fit to stand trial.
She'll be evaluated for whether she's fit to stand trial or whether she needs to be processed through our system of mental health.
For now, Kaldar is detained at this women's jail, charged in a rare string of murders. Thomas Daigle, CBC News, Hamilton.
A CBC Marketplace investigation has uncovered a fraudulent scheme with driver's license tests.
There are driving examiners who have taken bribes for road test passes. What's your government going to do about it?
We take the allegations to the Ontario minister responsible. And Rosie's here with that issue. Hey, Rosie.
Hey, Adrian. Tonight, the House of Commons on pause as parties fight over documents.
It sounds like there's a new story every week to justify paralyzing Parliament to cover up the truth.
Will this affect the Bloc's ultimatum to try to bring down the government? How does it affect government work? Chantal, Althea, and Andrew join me to talk about that and more.
Hola a todos, estoy aquí para comunicaros que me retiro del tenis profesional.
That is one of the greatest tennis champions, and he's retiring. Rafael Nadal made the announcement on social media. The 22-time Grand Slam winner says injuries have plagued him the last 2 seasons. The 38-year-old will step away after representing his home country of Spain next month at the Davis Cup Finals. Well, a Marketplace investigation has obtained a leaked memo that indicates some shady business is happening at drive test centers in Ontario. As Asha Tomlinson shows us now, the roads could be more dangerous because of bribes, forged documents, and the rigged testing of truck drivers.
I avoid highway driving as much as possible.
This driving examiner wants her identity protected out of fear of losing her job. She shared this internal memo with us, sent by the private company she works for, Serco. It manages Ontario's drive test centers, which offers licensing and exams on behalf of the province. Serco's VP of Operations states that a number of examiners have been accepting bribes in exchange for a road test pass and falsifying experience on driver records. They've either resigned or been terminated.
These people took bribes, gave licenses for a murder weapon.
Our insider says this is especially concerning with new truck drivers.
In any accident of a transport versus a car, more than likely the person in that car is not going to walk away.
A lack of standards and oversight at drive test centers is leading to an increase in serious accidents.
It's why this MPP is demanding action from the Ford government.
We've delivered petitions. There's been no acknowledgement that there's a problem. People's lives are on the line.
We asked Ontario's transport minister to come on camera. He declined. So we caught up with him at this news conference. We have an internal memo that's from the company that runs Ontario's drive test centers. It admits that there are driving examiners who have taken bribes for road test passes. What's your government going to do about it?
Well, we've passed all information in any way, shape, or form that is illegal onto authorities. There's absolutely no room for any of that.
We also reached out to Serco. They tell us they've informed authorities, fired people responsible, and that they do follow all testing standards set by Ontario's Ministry of Transportation. Asha Tomlinson, CBC News, Toronto.
You can catch Asha's full investigation tomorrow on the season premiere of Marketplace on CBC Television and CBC Gem. You'll see the team also brought hidden cameras into truck driving schools that take shortcuts on training. Now, let's break down the week in politics. Rosie's here with that issue.
At issue tonight, the House of Commons grinds to a halt.
It sounds like there's a new story every week to justify paralyzing Parliament to cover up the truth.
A standoff over releasing documents to the RCMP, with both parties accusing the other of delaying the work of the House.
It is the government's view that we should send this to committee so that we can get on with the important work of this House and protect the rights of Canadians.
So what's to be made of this stoppage inside the House? How could it affect the Bloc Québécois ultimatum to get more from the government? I'm Rosemary Varden, here to break it down tonight. Chantal Hébert, Andrew Coyne, Althea Raj. So pharmacare did pass in the Senate on Thursday night, so that's something. But the government hasn't really been able to do much else because of this privilege debate on a couple of issues. Althea, what do you make of the way this is being handled by the Conservatives and the government?
Well, at the core of it, it is an important issue. I don't want to take the substance away. There is a fund that was created many years ago, more than 20 years ago, actually, that has successfully worked to invest in startups and seed companies that made green technology that worked. And then it went through a period where it didn't work. And the AG released a very scathing report earlier this year saying, hey, a number of companies got millions of dollars that they shouldn't have gotten, that either they didn't meet the definition of being eligible for the money, or actually cases where there were conflict of interest, including with the chair. So the Conservatives have gotten a ruling from the Speaker saying they have this a real cause for wanting to have access to these documents, and they've been monopolizing the House time to have a motion passed to go to committee to talk about all the documents related to this case. Except that the Liberal government actually says we support you, and the Conservatives are basically filibustering their own motion. Today, they introduced a sub-amendment to their other sub-amendment to their amendment on the motion, and it is every time they do this, the clock starts again, and every single MP in the House of Commons gets to have a 20-minute speech with a 10-minute question and answer. So who's filibustering whom, I think, is a little bit the question here, and why. The Conservatives would love for the Liberals to bring forward a motion to shut down the debate, because they would need to find one party to support them. And then they would attack that party for shutting down debate over things that they alleged, like corruption. They've been saying words like this is worse than the sponsorship scandal, which we don't have evidence of just yet, to be clear. So there's that gamesmanship at play. I think there's also some wishing that this filibustering will mean the Liberals prorogue and that they can attack the Liberals for that as well. So there's all sorts of shenanigan working around this, but the Conservatives could also just stop talking and send this motion to committee where it would be, debated as it should and discussed as it should.
That was a very good synopsis of what's going on and maybe the why. I should also point out that the RCMP have said, we don't want to get documents this way. This is not going to help us in an investigation. Andrew, what do you make of either, as Althea points out, the gamesmanship or the substance of the issue, which I think everyone agrees is important for sure?
Well, I don't doubt there's games being played. There's also an absolutely fundamental issue, which is when Parliament demands documents, the government has to hand them over. The government doesn't get to decide on what basis or on what grounds it passes them over, and it has not agreed to do so. It has found all kinds of reasons to justify why it should not hand over this document or that document, or why this document should be redacted, et cetera, which it maintains to this day. The only issue that's in dispute within the Parliament is not whether or not the document should be handed over, but the secondary part of it, whether Parliament, once it has the document, should then pass them on to the RCMP. That's fine. Parliament can debate and decide that and go over it in committee. But the government's obligation still stands, regardless of what happens to the documents after they've gone to Parliament. The government has to hand over the documents to Parliament. This is far from the first time either this government or the government before that has played this game. We went through this under the Harper government with the Afghan detainees documents. We went through it with the F-35 costing. We went through it with this government with the We Charity documents. We've gone through it with the Winnipeg Laboratory affair where they took the speaker to court. So time and time again, governments in this country have been essentially defying the law. This is not controversial. This is not in dispute. This is absolutely fundamental to our system of government. It's as bedrock as the Constitution Convention. The power of Parliament to send for persons, papers, and things goes back centuries. And governments on both the left and the right are defying it, and it's got to stop.
Chantal.
I think every party believes it has something to gain from this paralysis. The Conservatives obviously believe that they're onto something and that they can make the case, corruption, dismissal of Parliament, although the RCMP element is probably the element that they didn't need, because yes, Parliament should be able to order governments to produce documents, but to say so that they can be passed on to the RCMP really gets in the way of the independence of an inquiry by the RCMP. But set that aside, so the Conservatives believe that they're keeping the government on its toes, demonstrating corruption, lack of transparency. The Liberals believe that they're showing the Conservatives for what they are, people who are not talking about day-to-day, and they're happy when Pierre Poilievre is not talking about bread and butter issues. And the more that this issue goes on, the more it stays inside the bubble. Frankly, it is not a conflict. It is about something that most Canadians would see as something that is vital to their daily lives. The NDP is happy enough because it gets to call the Conservatives agents of chaos in Parliament. And that's pretty good if you're going to face the Conservatives in many ridings in an election. And even the Bloc Québécois, that I think rightly says neither the Liberals nor the Conservatives want this to end. Did I mention it allows the Liberals to live for another day, another week, another 3 weeks? Get the sense that they get more leverage, i.e. if the Liberals want this to stop, then they would probably need either the NDP or the Bloc to be on side for a closure motion, and the Bloc is saying, well, give us what we have asked for and we'll help you end this dead end. So I don't think there's any political will on any side of the House to end this.
I will say there is concern from what I've heard from the Conservative side about that issue that Chantal signals there, that you're not going to be talking about the things that matter to Canadians. I think this is very hard to understand. It's very hard to see how it relates to your life or why it matters, Andrew.
Well, that's a sad commentary on how far we've already let Parliament slip. So it's true, nobody cares what goes on in Parliament. One way we can start to make people care about Parliament is actually allowing Parliament to exercise some powers. It doesn't get any more fundamental than whether the government's going to obey the law or not. Supposing there was real corruption behind this, I don't know if there is or not. But the fact that the government can just endlessly stonewall and obstruct and cover up on these things is fundamental. You know, it's only a convention that we obey the law. Ultimately, all of our system of government and our system of law depends upon people in the crunch actually obeying it and deciding to obey it. Even Nixon, when the Supreme Court said you got to hand over the tapes, handed over the tapes. He could have just said, well, come and get me. So basically what Canadian governments, both Liberal and Conservative, have been saying is, come and get me.
Chantal and then Althea, yep.
Yeah, except that the Conservatives or the opposition parties are not judge and jury in this. The RCMP is undergoing an investigation. It does have the tools to get the documents. And the notion that documents should transit through a parliamentary committee to get to the RCMP is frankly not...
That's not in dispute. I don't disagree with that.
No, but the only reason for the filibuster is to talk forever about a motion that says that this issue should be trashed out because it is a serious issue about the independence of the RCMP. It's no longer about governments not handing documents.
Yes, it is.
It's about the opposition making
the government
the
can
case forever.
The government can hand over the
on their own
documents today.
motion.
Okay, Althea. Althea gets the last word here. Althea.
Like everything, there's policy and politics. I agree with Chantal on the politics. I think the risk for the Conservatives is they are shooting themselves in the foot. And frankly, we're on day 9. I really wonder if this is the privilege motion they want to talk about when we return for Thanksgiving, or if they're going to bring in another, frankly, I think more scandalous privilege motion. On the substance, I mean, Andrew raises some really good points, but all of these points could be discussed in the committee. The other issue, which I think the Liberals are right to point out, is if the RCMP says we can't even use these documents, please don't give them to us. What if you have a constituent who has a criminal case against them and is like, hey, why don't you ask Parliament to get some documents because that might help me with my case? Like, maybe there are things that we want our legislators to think things through, and they can do that at committee.
And all of that can be done after the government has rendered the documents. There's no reason why they has to wait for the committee to rule.
Chicken and egg, Andrew. Chicken and egg.
But that's the Speaker's ruling to send it to a committee.
You know what we did there? We made Canadians care with that vigorous debate. We're going to leave it there. When we come back, we're going to take a look at Pierre Poilievre being silenced in the House over his comments towards the Foreign Affairs Minister.
Pierre Poilievre is about double standards, and he's about himself. His own political gain.
Why did Pierre Poilievre refuse to withdraw those comments? That's next. At issue, Pierre Poilievre was silenced by the Speaker for a day after attacking the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mélanie Joly.
Twice she refused to condemn those remarks. She continues to pander to Hamas supporters in the Liberal Party as part of her leadership campaign rather than doing her job.
Poilievre did not withdraw the remarks, and Joly fired back.
Clearly, what we're seeing is that Pierre Poilievre is about double standards, and he's about himself.
So what's to be made of Pierre Poilievre's remarks? What challenges come with this strategy? Here to break all that down, Chantal Hébert, Andrew Coyne, Althea Raj. Chantal, I'll start with you on this one. These attacks on Mélanie Joly followed a very passionate but quite partisan speech that Pierre Poilievre made on Monday at a memorial for October 7th. And I'm sure that part of the idea was to keep that sort of theme going for him. What did you make of the comments and the way he handled that?
I'm not sure that if Pierre Poilievre was a truck, he would have a reverse gear. I've seen no evidence of it, so I'm surprised that he wouldn't withdraw his comments. That being said, I also find that he tends to always bring it a line too far. And on this, there are many things you can say about Mélanie Joly and Canada's stance, difficult to pin down on the Israel-Hamas issue. But the notion that anyone in the House of Commons is pandering to Hamas supporters is a bit hard to swallow, especially when it's framed as part of a leadership campaign. I suspect that most people in Mélanie Joly's riding would question whether the fact that they may not be pro-Israel makes them Hamas and terrorist supporters. Right. So there is something to be said about being the aspiring prime minister and to be able to talk with some moderation about foreign affairs. I do note that Mr. Poilievre also this week said that initially Israel should feel free to bomb nuclear installations in Iran. Mm-hmm. No ally of Canada that I know of is really promoting that line. And it has now become that he meant that they should be able to target nuclear weapons. So I don't know. If there's a file that requires a bit of moderation, it may be that one.
Yeah, and I wondered what the risks of that is, Andrew, to be so staunchly in one camp and be willing to attack on those grounds, whether there's a risk politically for Mr. Poilievre there.
Well, he's obviously calculated there isn't. I'm not sure that the eternal equivocation of the Liberal government has stood it very well politically or morally, frankly. I'm less concerned. I mean, yeah, it's over the top. He only has one gear. I agree with everything Chantal said. I'm less concerned with that in this particular instance than with the way it was handled by the Speaker.
Yeah.
Parliament's supposed to be a pretty freewheeling place. People say things every day that are a little over the top, hyperbolic, et cetera. But it's the kind of place where you can say things that you couldn't say outside of Parliament because you get sued for libel. Why? Because we want the people to be able to test the limits of debate. We want them to prod things, to get at uncomfortable truths, and sometimes they get at in ways that are pretty unconventional. In this particular case, he did ask Melanie Joly a very direct and simple question. Would she disavow, would she disown these appalling remarks that are chants that are being made at these rallies that have increasingly taken a tone that is not just pro-Palestine, but anti-Semitic and indeed pro-Hamas. All she had to do, it seems to me, this was not a gotcha question, was just denounce them. Instead, she retreated into strange kind of prepared remarks that had been written for her, and I think a fair-minded person could say, what is the game that she's playing at that stage? Was his comeback to that well judged? No, but it seems to me that's the sort of thing that the court of public opinion can figure out rather than the Speaker basically banning him from speaking for a day. And I think I would say the same thing about the Speaker's ruling in the case of Yvonne Baker, the Liberal MP, who talked about the Putin wing of the taking over the Conservative Party. Again, overkill, but gets at something, some questions that need to be answered by the Conservatives.
Althea?
Well, I mean, I think by Andrew mentioning the case of Yvonne Baker, you just answered, why did the Speaker do this? I don't know that if Yvonne Baker had not gone public and noted to reporters, a lot of us didn't even notice that he had been muted for the past 6 months for saying that there was a pro-Putin wing had taken over the Conservative Party. The Conservatives complained in the House, and the Speaker told them he wasn't going to be recognized. So in order to have some consistency, still like visible hypocrisy, because it's not like Pierre Poilievre has been muted for 6 months, there had to be some form of discipline in order to maintain some level of consistency. And now, lo and behold, Yvonne Baker's muzzle has been lifted. So I think that's why there was that punishment against Mr. Poilievre. On the substance, I do agree with Andrew that Melanie Joly, the Foreign Affairs Minister, could have actually responded to the question and said something substantial. I also do worry that with Mr. Poilievre's so ardent stance, like very, very pro-Netanyahu Israel stance, and the painting of everybody who's protesting as pro-Hamas supporters, how does a leader bring different Canadians together after the fact? Because you can't just say all the people out there protesting on the streets because they're worried about their family members to say, oh no, you're all Hamas supporter, you're all terrorist supporters, and I will not be a prime minister for you. Like that raises a whole bunch of other questions, in addition to the Iran nuclear stuff question that raises a lot of questions about does Pierre Poilievre as prime minister have a nuanced button when it comes to foreign affairs that wouldn't get us killed? Like you can't go around saying stuff like that.
Last word to Chantal.
So you asked about political risks to Pierre Poilievre. I believe that he believes that it's paying off. I think his stance as pro-Israel stance made the difference in the Toronto-St. Paul's by-election.
Sure did, yeah.
And I believe that the attempts of the Liberals to kind of straddle the divide cost them on the other side of the equation, the seat in Montreal, the Verdun seat.
Okay, got to leave it there. Thank you for that good conversation. With that, I'll throw things back to Adrienne, and she, of course, is in Toronto.
Thanks, Rosie. Next, American journalists find a friend amid the storm. How they saved a hurricane cat in our moment. You are looking at two American journalists with a cat that had a rough night trying to ride out the hurricane on Florida's Gulf Coast. So luckily the cat's meows for help worked. She was rescued from the pounding rain brought on by Milton, and tonight the hurricane cat makes our moment. So that is the moment Christopher Salas and videographer David Barcenas realized the yowling sound coming from underneath their parked car was a waterlogged cat taking shelter from Hurricane Milton.
Oh my God. That's okay. Oh, buddy.
The cat was quickly nicknamed Hurricane Cat by social media fans, but the journalists from Hearst TV's DC bureau are calling her Millie. And while they got her dry and warm, she didn't look too pleased right away. After being fed, Millie was taken to a local vet. Turns out she is not microchipped, and if she's not claimed, David has already filled out the paperwork to take her home. You know, we were just saying it's a good thing you're looking at a cat. Feel lucky you're looking at a cat, because there is another video out of that part of Florida that shows a woman opening a car door only to be greeted by an alligator in the water. So it's been a rough week. We figured the cat was the better call. From all of us at The National, thank you for being with us. You can watch anywhere, anytime on the free CBC News app and subscribe to The National's YouTube channel. I'm Adrienne Arsenault. Take care.